feel free to jump in, anything you want to have there. So it's important to think about these, and it's difficult to talk about death or dying or even how you're going to be cared for. That's an awkward conversation for family members to bring up among themselves. And most people, though, feel that it's important. By the time we reach adulthood, most people have been in contact with some family members that have had to take care of somebody that was aging, and they've developed some ideas of how they want things to be in the end, or at least about those experiences that they've had or seen, and they have strong opinions about it. And if you ask them, 60% of people say that making sure their family is not burdened by tough decisions is important. They don't want to burden their families, but if you ask how many have talked to their families about how they want things to be, only 56% have talked. And then if you, I think there's another slide that even less have actually have a written plan where they've made a formal plan. Most people agree that it's important to state clearly what you want to your, what you want. And 70% of people say they prefer to die at home, but in reality, 70% of us die in a hospital, nursing home, long-term care facility. Next slide. So with respect to preparation, 80% of people say that if seriously ill, they would want to talk to their doctor, but only 7% report having an end-of-life conversation with their doctor. Because if you're in the hospital when everybody's thinking about it, you know, should we resuscitate this person? Everybody feels like, well, that's the primary care doctor's job. When people are in for their primary care appointment or their annual physical, it's not typically done. And that's changing for a lot of reasons. But 82% of people say it's important to put their wishes in writing. That statistic seems high to me. 23% actually have done it. And so if we want to be prepared, we need to think about it proactively. As a family physician and somebody who's always been interested in hospice and in geriatric care, I'm probably more proactive than most, but even in the majority of my career, I wasn't consistent about it. I didn't have a thorough approach that helped people think about it. And I've started doing that now. I think that it ought to be the primary care doc as far as the medical contact, because I have the relationship, the long-term relationship with people. But then the next question is when? When should I have that conversation? The only time that I consistently see the most people is at the annual physical. So I've been shoehorning this conversation into an already packed agenda, and it's a conversation that can't be made, isn't appropriate to be made in a one-time shot. So that's why we're having this seminar, why I produce videos, and also have found tools to do that. Anything you want to say about that?
Well, the next slide actually is going to get to my question. You can go ahead.
Okay.
So it's not a knowledge deficit. You know, the people that have come tonight, how many people, like, this is the very first time you thought about planning and having that conversation? Probably not. You've probably heard about advance directives, living wills, powers of attorney. You know they exist out there. Probably even thought, I should get that done one day. May have them, may have those documents. But, you know, the other statistic that goes along with the ones that Dr. Gentry just showed, if 80+% of Americans know about advance directives, that tells you it's not a knowledge deficit. Public policy, they've done their job, they've gotten the word out there, we know it exists. 23% of the people have actually gotten around to putting it in writing, what they would want, creating an advance directive of some sort. You know what? It's worse than that. 39% of people that have them can find them when they need them. So what do you think? How good is that, right? It's like, I got money in the bank, but I can't find my checkbook. You know, what good is that doing you? So that's why the conversations are so terribly important. Because, Dr. Gentry, experienced in working in long-term care, hospital settings, hospice, end-of-life care, if somebody is in a bed, he's in charge of their care, if they don't have an advance directive, are you standing there wondering, what am I gonna do for this person? You know, we can't do anything, sorry, we can't make a decision. No, a decision's going to be made, a plan is going to be put in place. There is going to be a person there that's gonna speak up for that person if they can't speak for themselves. It just may not be what that person wanted, because nobody knows. You didn't have that conversation. So prudent planning ahead, why don't you have it in place? Why haven't you put it in writing? Why don't you have it in a place where people can get it when you need it? Why haven't you talked about it? It's not the most pleasant conversation. And, you know, I try having that conversation with my mom, and I get maybe like that far, a couple answers, and then she's like, let's talk about something else, you know. So it's not a conversation that you have once. You kind of have to keep working at it, so that you get, you find out, what does my spouse want? What do my parents want? Do they know what I want, if it were me? There's a few really famous lawsuits, highly publicized, and you guys probably heard about them. You remember Terry Schiavo down in Florida a few years ago? You know how old she was? How old was she?
40?
I think she was even younger than that. She may have been 40 by the time she passed away, but I think she was in her 20s when she actually had her event. There was a case even before that, Nancy Cruzan. It's an older case. Now, most of us in here are old enough that we actually remember it, but she was also in her 20s. And these people had major medical events that caused them to be in a persistent vegetative state, and they weren't some little 80-year-old lady that had a stroke, and the family was wondering whether or not to put in a tube feeding. These were young, vibrant women that had something sudden and tragic happen to them. So the point of that is, you never know when you're gonna need them. It's not like I'm gonna wait until I get old and do it. I'm not gonna wait until I get that diagnosis of cancer or congestive heart failure, because that might not be the ticket out, you know. I mean, it may be a car wreck, it may be some other sort of event. So anyway, everybody thinks it's too early to start planning until it's too late, and you go, oh, it's not any fun to talk about, I got other things to worry about, but nonetheless. So why don't we do it? Is it the cost? You think, is it too expensive to do? Is that why you think people don't do it? Nah, I don't think so either. They might be afraid of paying a law firm to come in, an unknown of how much that's going to possibly cost to do that. I can tell you it's not that expensive. But if it were cost prohibitive, there's still even the opportunity of, there are state-approved documents that are just free. You know, you download them from the internet. Before you leave tonight, Dr. Gentry's going to give you a document that you can use. So cost isn't going to be a barrier, or if it is a barrier, we can work around that. Are you too busy to do it? There's probably a lot of busy people in Cookville tonight. But you might not, but busy. It doesn't really take long, and especially if you say, I'm going to spend 5 minutes a week working on this until I get it down. And you know what? You've got for as long as you have mental capacity to continue to work on it. So if you start now, you've probably got a really long time to perfect it and change it and amend it and tweak it and tell people about it. So I'm going to do it when I need it. Well, when do you buy homeowners insurance? Everybody in here got a home? Okay. Do you have homeowners insurance? Yeah. You don't run out and buy homeowner's insurance when your house is smoking, you know, when it catches on fire. That's not when you run out and buy your homeowner's insurance. It's not when you buy your car insurance, it's not after you hit that telephone pole. So putting some sort of plan in place about how you're going to be taken care of doesn't happen when you're in the emergency room. That's not the time to start thinking about it. We spend a lot of time in a law office looking at all of these documents. Advanced directives is an umbrella term that can include a healthcare power of attorney, a living will, or in the state of Tennessee, we've kind of given up the term living will in lieu of advanced care plan. A post form and a DNR, those are physician orders that should be derived from your previously prepared advanced directives. You can't run out and do a post form all by yourself. A durable general power of attorney has to do with the business part of your life. Okay, it's how your taxes and bills and real estate are going to continue to be handled after you're not able to do that any longer for yourself. And a will or a will substitute. Now that's really the big thing that brings people in the doors. They go, I want a will. Or they'll call up and say, I want a trust. Oh really? What kind of trust do you think you want? You know, I'll fix that up for you. People spend a lot of time worrying about what's going to happen to their stuff after they die. Where's my money going to go? Where's my house going to go? Who's going to get my stuff? Who's going to get my money? Well, that's important, and I really appreciate people that worry about that. You know, as a lawyer, I really appreciate people that worry about that, and it's important. But worrying about what's going to happen to you before you die, I think, is even more important. So, next slide, I think we're going back to Dr. Gentry. We're going to talk about 5 wishes in particular.